The letter came on a Tuesday, plain envelope, HOA logo in the corner. I almost set it aside with the junk mail. I didn't. Inside was a notice of lien, a legal claim filed against my home for $14,260 in accumulated fines, late fees, and what the document called administrative remediation costs. I had received no prior warnings. I had received nothing from this HOA in 11 months. Not a newsletter, not a meeting notice, not a single piece of correspondence. And now there was a lien on my home. I sat at my kitchen table and read every line of that letter twice. Then I read the specific rule they claimed I had violated. Then I went and got my copy of the HOA's governing documents, the CC&Rs, the bylaws, every page, and I read them cover to cover looking for that rule. It wasn't there, not in the CC&Rs, not in the bylaws, not in any amendment, not in any resolution, not in any version of any document this HOA had ever filed with the county. They had put a $14,000 lien on my home using a rule that does not exist. If you've ever been threatened, fined, or taken advantage of, drop a justice in the comments. Because what happened next taught an entire HOA board exactly what happens when someone does. My name is Daniel Reyes. My wife, Carmen, and I bought our home in Sycamore Glen 9 years ago. 3 bedrooms, corner lot, good school district. The HOA fee was reasonable. The neighborhood was quiet. We kept our yard clean. We painted when the trim needed it. We parked in our driveway. We were, by any measure, the kind of neighbors an HOA is supposed to protect property values for, not come after. I called the HOA management company, Pinnacle Property Services, that same afternoon. The woman who answered had the tone of someone who had rehearsed patience. "Mr. Reyes, the notice has been processed. The fines are recorded." "I'd like to know," I said, "which specific rule in the governing documents this violation refers to." A pause. Section 7.4 of the Community Standards Addendum. "There is no Section 7.4, I said. "The addendum ends at Section 6. A week later, I received a second letter, this one from Pinnacle's legal department. It confirmed the lien and added a new line. Continued non-compliance may result in foreclosure proceedings. They were threatening to take my home, over a rule they made up. I didn't panic. I made a list. I started at the county recorder's office the next morning. Every HOA in the state is required by law to record its governing documents with the county. The recorded versions are the legal versions. I pulled every document filed under Sycamore Glen HOA going back to the original 1998 incorporation. There was no Community Standards Addendum, not in the original filing, not in any of the 14 subsequent amendments filed over 26 years. It was, in the most precise legal sense, nothing. I drove home and knocked on 6 doors. My neighbor Marcus had received a lien notice 8 months ago. He had paid it, $3,800, because he couldn't afford a lawyer and didn't know he could fight it. The Nguyens, Patricia, same story, same non-existent addendum. That evening, I called Nadia Voss, a property law attorney. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Bring me everything," she said. "The lien notice, the county records, the names of your neighbors. And Daniel, don't pay anything, not $1. Nadia started with a question. "Do you know who sits on the board of Sycamore Glen HOA? "Gerald Fitch," she said, "is also a co-owner of Pinnacle Property Services." The room shifted slightly. The man who issued the violations was collecting the fees. In 7 years, the HOA had filed 41 liens against homeowners, nearly half the community. They invented a rule book. Then, they fined people under it. Then they put liens on homes when people didn't pay. I thought about Marcus. I thought about 41 families. "What do we do?" I asked. "We file," she said. "And we don't just file for you. We file a class action. Gerald Fitch and Pinnacle Property Services are the defendants." She slid a document across the desk. I picked up the pen. By Friday afternoon, Gerald Fitch's attorney had sent a letter to every plaintiff threatening individual countersuits for defamation and harassment of a community volunteer. Nadia's response was 4 words. "We'll see you Monday." On Monday, we filed for emergency injunctive relief. We attached the county records. We attached the dual ownership interest. The motion was granted in 72 hours. All 41 liens were frozen. Pinnacle was removed. A court-appointed administrator took over. Fitch produces meeting minutes to prove a vote in 2019. Nadia subpoenaed the original sign-in sheets. 22 homeowners attended. The minutes showed 31 votes. 9 votes for a document that didn't exist, from people who weren't in the room. The fines collected totaled $412,000. The money had flowed through Pinnacle's accounts co-owned by Fitch. He had not been a community volunteer. He had been running a collection operation from inside the HOA boardroom. The hearing lasted 2 days. Fitch's attorney made arguments about community governance. Nadia stood up with one document, the county's recorded copy of the governing documents, stamped, official, complete. She held it up. "Your Honor, the rule does not exist." The judge ruled the following week. All 41 liens were permanently vacated, $412,000 ordered returned, with interest. Gerald Fitch was permanently barred from HOA leadership, and the court referred the matter to the district attorney for criminal investigation. I was in the hallway when Fitch walked out. He looked like a man who had genuinely believed that no one would ever read the fine print closely enough to find him. He didn't say anything. Neither did I. Marcus got his $3,800 back. With interest, it was just over $4,000. Patricia was able to proceed with her refinancing. The 41 families of Sycamore Glen got their liens removed and their money returned. A new management company was selected through a competitive process. The board held its first genuinely open election in 7 years. Carmen and I still live in that house on the corner lot. And every time a piece of mail arrives, I read every line. Because here is what I want you to take from this story. HOA boards have real power, but that power is bounded by documents. When they step outside those boundaries, they are a fraud. The document is always the weapon. Learn to read it. If this story made something click, drop a justice in the comments. I'm working on a follow-up to walk you through the process. Subscribe so you're there when it drops. New Frontier Justice stories every week. I'll see you in the next one.